My name is Richard, and for the longest time, I thought of myself as a good husband. I'll be honest. I've always been the kind of guy who believes in giving people the benefit of the doubt. I don't like drama, I don't snoop through my wife's phone, and I don't get worked up over little things. I figured that's how a good husband should be, but looking back, maybe I was too forgiving. See, my wife Vanessa, she's not a bad person, but she has this habit of pushing limits, testing how far she can go before I react. Sometimes it's harmless, like spending a little too much money on things we don't need or staying out later than she said she would. But other times, it feels like she's checking to see if I'll actually stand up for myself. And then there's Jake. I've known for years that Jake is not just a friend, he's her ex. And I don't care how much time has passed. Men like him don't just hang around for no reason. They wait, they linger in the background, playing the nice guy, waiting for the right moment. I brought it up more than once. I told Vanessa straight up, I don't trust that guy. But every time she brushed it off. She said I was being dramatic, that I was jealous for no reason. He's just a friend, Richard. You're overthinking it. He's like a brother to me. All the classic lines. I wanted to believe her, so I let it go again and again. I told myself I was overreacting, that I was being insecure. But trust has a limit, and she was about to find out exactly where mine ended. One evening, Vanessa and I were sitting in the living room after dinner, just unwinding like we usually did. She scrolled through her phone, casually chatting about her day, when she mentioned a weekend trip some of her old friends were planning, a getaway at a beach house in the Bahamas, a chance to relax, catch up, and relive some of their college memories. On the surface, it sounded harmless. I had no problem with her spending time with her friends. We had always respected each other's independence, and I never believed in being a controlling husband. But then she said something that made my stomach tighten. Jake's going too. The moment his name left her lips, I knew this wasn't just a casual update about her plans. Something in her tone, in the way she looked at me, told me this was a test. She wasn't just telling me about the trip, she was waiting for my reaction, watching to see if I would object and tell her not to go, and that's exactly what she wanted. For years, I had warned her about Jake. I wasn't an overly jealous man, but I knew what I saw. Jake wasn't some harmless friend. He was a man waiting for an opportunity, and I wasn't about to pretend otherwise. But this time, I didn't react the way Vanessa expected. I didn't argue. I didn't remind her why Jake was a problem. I didn't list the countless times I had let things slide in the past. I just looked at her and said, "If you go, don't bother coming back." She blinked at me, caught off guard. Then she laughed. She shook her head, acting like I was being ridiculous. "God, Richard, you're so dramatic," she said, rolling her eyes. Then came the usual excuses, the same ones she always used when I voiced my concerns. "You're overreacting. Jake's just a friend. You really need to stop being so insecure." I didn't fight. I didn't argue. I just looked at her, my voice calm, and said, "Do what you want." And I meant it. She thought I was bluffing, just like she always did. She had no idea that this time I was completely serious. The morning of her trip, Vanessa moved around the house as if nothing had changed. She hummed to herself while packing, carefully folding her clothes and choosing which outfits to bring. She took her time, pausing now and then to check her phone, probably responding to the group chat about the trip. Every so often, she'd glance at me, expecting me to say something, to remind her of what I had told her, but I didn't. I just watched. When she was done, she wheeled her suitcase to the front door and walked over to me. Leaning down, she pressed a quick kiss to my cheek, just like she always did before leaving for any trip. "Love you," she said, her tone light, almost dismissive, as if my warning 2 days ago had never happened. Then, without a second thought, she grabbed her keys and walked out the door. I didn't say a word. I watched from the window as she tossed her suitcase into the trunk of the taxi, slid into the passenger's seat, and pulled out of the driveway. The moment the taxi turned the corner, disappearing, I got to work. First, I changed the locks. I had already made arrangements with a locksmith the day before, and within the hour, the house was secured. The next step was handling her belongings. I started packing her clothes, her shoes, her makeup. Everything that belonged to her was neatly packed into boxes, waiting to be delivered to her parents' house. I didn't want her to have any excuse to come back, not even to pick up a forgotten sweater. Then came the final step, the divorce papers. I called my lawyer that morning and told him I would be getting divorced, so all the documents should be prepared. There was no hesitation, no second guessing. This wasn't an empty threat. I had warned her, and she chose to ignore me. Vanessa had convinced herself that nothing would change when she got back. She thought she could go on this trip, laugh with her friends, spend time with Jake, and return home like everything was normal. She thought she had me figured out, that I would grumble about it for a few days, maybe give her the silent treatment, and then eventually let it go. But this time was different. I wasn't going to be the man who let his wife walk all over him. I wasn't going to be the husband who got disrespected and still welcomed her back like nothing had happened. I had drawn a line, and she had crossed it. Now she was going to find out exactly what that meant. I hadn't given Vanessa much thought when I left for work on the morning of the day she came back. As far as I was concerned, she was a part of my past. The decision had been made, the preparations executed, and I was ready to move forward. I assumed she was still at the beach house, enjoying her trip, completely unaware that when she returned, everything would have changed. But then, on the fourth day, 3 days earlier than planned, she showed up. I wouldn't have even known if it weren't for the camera I had installed outside. An alert popped up on my phone during lunch, and out of curiosity, I checked the live feed. There she was, standing on the porch, bags at her feet, her hand gripping the doorknob. She tried turning it, but the door didn't budge. She tried again, then again, then again. I watched her step back, her eyebrows furrowing as confusion set in. She leaned in closer, looking at the lock, and that's when she realized the lock had been changed. Vanessa fumbled for her phone, and within seconds, mine started ringing. I let it ring a few times before answering. "Richard," she breathed, her voice already shaking. "The door won't open." "You don't live there anymore," I said, my tone calm and detached. "Your things are at your parents' house. Expect the divorce papers in a week or two." There was a long silence. I could hear her breathing, shaky and uneven, like she was trying to process what I had just said. Then her voice returned, desperate this time. "Richard, please, wait. Let me just—" I ended the call before she could finish. A few seconds later, my phone started buzzing again. She called once, then again, then again. Her name kept flashing across the screen, but I ignored every single one. After the sixth attempt, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I wasn't interested in whatever story she was about to spin. Then the messages started. "Richard, please talk to me. I messed up. I'm so sorry. It's not what it looks like." I sat there staring at my phone, watching the notifications pile up. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad. I just felt nothing. This was the same woman who had laughed in my face when I warned her not to go. The same woman who had kissed me goodbye so sure that I wouldn't do a damn thing about it. And now she was begging me to listen. A new message popped up. "Please pick up. There's something important I need to tell you." I still didn't move. I checked the camera again. Vanessa was pacing on the porch now, her face red, her hands shaking. She looked frantic. Now she was crying, yelling at the door, begging me to pick up. Then, after a long pause, she stopped texting. Instead, she sent a voice note. I hesitated before playing it, but eventually, I hit play. Her voice was a wreck, shaky, full of sobs, like she had completely lost control of herself. She wasn't just upset, she was terrified. "Richard, please listen to me. You were right about Jake. I should have listened to you. I swear I never expected any of this to happen. I drank too much, and when I woke up," she sobbed, gasping for air. "Jake did something. He recorded it. He's blackmailing me. I'm telling you now because I don't want you to find out from someone else. Please, Richard, I don't know what to do. I need you. I swear I didn't mean for this to happen." She was desperate, begging, hoping that because she had been wronged, I would step in and save her, that I would take her back and clean up the mess she had created. I listened to the entire thing, sitting in complete silence. Then I typed out one last message, the final thing I would ever say to her. "Enjoy your life, Vanessa. You made your choice. Now live with it." And with that, I blocked her. I never looked back. Not once did I check in on Vanessa, ask how she was doing, or wonder if she was okay. I had spent enough time giving her the benefit of the doubt, only to have her throw it back in my face. She made her choice, and now she had to live with it. The days after I blocked Vanessa were filled with a strange sense of relief. The silence in my house was almost peaceful, and I quickly found myself getting used to the quiet. The tension that had been part of my daily existence for so long was gone. The weight of her manipulative behavior was lifted, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. But the calm didn't last long. It wasn't that I missed her, I didn't. It was the slow burn of betrayal that kept simmering in the back of my mind. What she did, what she had almost done, it was unforgivable. She thought I would stay at home like a fool, waiting for her to come back from her weekend of infidelity. She thought I was weak, that I'd just take her back, pretend nothing happened. She was wrong. I didn't need to justify myself anymore. I didn't need to spend another moment wondering whether I was the bad guy in this. I was done with her lies, done with being the person who sacrificed his happiness just to make her feel safe and comfortable. I had been her safety net, her steady rock, but now it was time for me to become something else, a man who took back his life. The days dragged on, and Vanessa's messages stopped coming. She realized quickly that I wasn't budging. But then came the knock on the door. It was unexpected, too early, too soon, but it had to happen eventually. Vanessa wasn't the kind to walk away quietly. She was desperate, and she was about to make one final futile attempt to regain control. I was sitting in the living room, sipping my coffee, when the doorbell rang. I froze for a moment, listening. It was too early for a delivery, and I wasn't expecting anyone. I stood up, walked quietly to the front door, and peeked through the peephole. There she was, Vanessa. She stood there, her hands trembling, her eyes bloodshot. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She hadn't been this vulnerable since we first met, and it hit me like a punch in the gut. But this wasn't the same woman. This wasn't the girl I had fallen in love with. This was someone who thought she could come back into my life after everything she had done and still demand control. I hesitated for a moment. I could feel the old urges, the part of me that wanted to let her back in. I had loved her for so long, had shared so much of my life with her. That part of me still wanted to believe we could work things out. But then I remembered what she had done, and how easily she had discarded me, how little respect she had shown for the years we spent together. No, I wasn't going to let her back in. I opened the door slowly, just enough to see her standing there. She stepped forward, eyes wide, her breath shallow. "Richard," she said softly, her voice shaky. "Please, we need to talk." I didn't let her in. I stood firm, arms crossed, refusing to let her cross the threshold. "No, Vanessa, we're done talking." She blinked, a flicker of disbelief crossing her face. "What do you mean, we're done talking? We can fix this, Richard. We can work through it." Her words were desperate, as if she truly believed that I'd forgive her just like that. It was the same manipulation she had always used, making me feel guilty for standing up for myself, making me think that if I didn't give her what she wanted, I was being unfair. "I'm not interested in fixing anything," I said coldly. "You made your choice. You left. Now you have to live with it." She flinched visibly, hurt by my words. She stepped back slightly, as if the truth had hit her like a physical blow, but she wasn't giving up. Not yet. "Richard," she pleaded, her voice cracking, "I made a mistake. I thought I needed something new. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just needed to feel alive again. Can't you understand that?" I shook my head. "You didn't just make a mistake, Vanessa. You betrayed me. And you think you can just walk back in here like everything's fine, like nothing happened? I'm done. You're not welcome here anymore." She looked at me, her eyes wide with shock and something else, fear maybe. She had always thought she could control me, that I would always forgive her, that I would always take her back. But now she was realizing that I was no longer the man she could manipulate. "You're not the same, Richard," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought you would forgive me." I laughed bitterly, a laugh that didn't reach my eyes. "That's the problem, Vanessa. You never thought I would stand up for myself. You never thought I would say enough is enough." There was a long pause. I could see her calculating her next move, trying to figure out how to win me back. I knew exactly what she was thinking. She was still holding on to the illusion that I would somehow cave, that I would soften in the face of her tears, but I wasn't that man anymore. I had walked away from my marriage once, and I wasn't going to walk back into it just to be humiliated again. I stepped back, closing the door halfway. "You don't get to have a second chance, Vanessa. Not with me. Not after what you did." Her face twisted with frustration and disbelief. She slammed her fist against the door. "This isn't fair. You can't just throw away everything we had. You can't do this to me." I stood there, staring at her through the small crack in the door. "I didn't throw anything away. You did. You made your choice, and now you have to live with it." Her expression crumbled, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of true regret in her eyes. But it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. I closed the door, locking it behind me. I could hear her sobbing on the other side, but I didn't care. The worst part was over. I had finally taken control of my life, and I wasn't going to let her back in. I turned around and walked into the living room, my heart still racing. But this time it wasn't from anger. It wasn't from betrayal. It was from the weight of everything that had been lifted from me. The burden of her lies, her manipulation, and her absence was gone. I was free. I sat down on the couch, the silence settling around me. But this time, it wasn't suffocating. It was peaceful. I poured myself a drink, savoring the taste, letting the calm wash over me. And then the phone buzzed. I didn't even need to look. I knew it was her. But this time, I didn't answer. I didn't need to hear what she had to say anymore. She had already said enough. I turned my phone off, letting the screen fade to black. The weight had been lifted. It was over. Now it was time for me to live again. For myself. To find peace. To find freedom. And to finally stop being the person everyone else wanted me to be. It was time to start over. But Vanessa had made her choice. Now it was my turn.